I have a great friend of mine, Branden Rowe here, Air Force vet, 3-time deployed man. Thank you for your service.
I was like, we're gonna make it as fun as possible for kids. You probably won't be that good, and it's okay, but I wanna make sure you're having fun, because as your confidence starts building, you have fun, and you're liking it, and you'll get better naturally. Hey, where do you wanna go? Right, that's why we came back to Arizona. I was like, where do you wanna go? There's like, we can make a job for you anywhere in the world to make sure your wife get the best treatment. Even if there's not a base there, one of the hardest things I fear was like telling my kids.
This is the Unleash Your Purpose podcast.
Welcome to Unleash Your Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Centers. I have a great friend of mine, Branden Rowe here, Air Force vet. Your story is beyond powerful, but you also have a grip load of kids as well, all in club sports that takes up all your time and energy. And he came to my house and you saw the Sprinter van and you were inspired. Yeah. Is that true?
I was inspired. How do you do it? Like, man.
I have a great wife.
Yeah.
And a nanny. No, I'm kidding.
I'll get there one day.
No. Yeah. So because you got 6 kids. Mm-hmm. And so we met actually doing clubs or sports together. Yep. Because you are the sports pastor and direct the club that I'm a part of. Yep. And sports has been your life after retiring from the Air Force. And now you got a bunch of kids, your own kids that are in sports. How do you manage all of your kids in club together? And how's it been going? How's the season?
It's good. I mean, they went up in their division, so it's a hard division. So they've been losing a lot of games. We had a championship cup this past weekend. They took second place, so they're doing better, right? Yeah. But honestly, I take it one day at a time. Right. I think.
Oh, they got to play a level up?
Yes.
My son played at the same club, the Cup, and got selected to go in. I just feel so honored. He got selected to go play up at that, like the premier level the elite level. And it was a humbling experience because he's like the top kid in the whole, like his whole club. Yeah. And then he got invited to play. And he probably played like 10 minutes a half, you know, and they were fast and crisp and so disciplined in their sports. It was something that it was a beautiful thing to watch, but you could see it all over his first game. He got 0 shots on goal and he was so frustrated himself because he was fearful. Every time he got the ball, he just passed it off, and he was like a top striker and he needed to make it move, and he couldn't. I
had a conversation with my boys when they first started club, because in the rec, they were killing the rec. Yeah. Like they were easily scoring like 5-6 goals a game. Uh-huh. And I had a conversation when they came to club. I was like, hey, you guys are rec good, right? But club's totally different, because now the kids that probably aren't that good are practicing every day. And they're working. Like, this would show what you're made of, is how much are you going to practice to step up to the call and everything. So yeah, my 14-year-old, he is so, like, I've never seen a kid so passionate and excited to play. Like, he thinks about it all day. All his YouTube is different drills. And that's good. Yeah. So then we're like, all right. So I got him like a coach that actually plays professional soccer, and he's in his off season. So he plays in Europe. He comes back. He coaches him 3 times a week, and he just kicks his butt every single time. He comes out exhausted, but it's like, this is like helping to build his confidence and strengthen his left foot and be able to make moves. It's been really fun. And that's great. And it's good to you, because you seem the kind of dad that, like, hey, I want you to succeed. Yeah. But I'm not gonna.
You gotta put in the work.
I'm not putting my past not making sports on you like most parents do. Yeah. They push their kids too hard where the kids stop playing.
Yeah, you got to be excited to want to do it. Yes. So bringing him up to this next level of club, I was really nervous that it was going to turn into, he wasn't going to be excited and motivated to do it. It was going to kill his motivation. So like, I think for kids, like, you have to fuel their motivation and their interest, and kind of put some energy behind it. So I'm like, all right, you love this sport. I'm gonna resource it as best I can. That's like some of the privilege and like honor that I have, like having some resources available that you can fuel that. Yeah. But then, like, he's got to want to put in the work and grit and grind. Yep. Like my other son, he did a half a year, and
like,
we're gonna try something else.
I'm gonna take up
He
guitar.
thinks he's great. Yeah, he thinks he's great. You know,
play guitar now.
I go, you're gonna be a youth pastor.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah, but it's hard. That's one of the hardest things I think as a dad for me is like, I have 3 boys.
Yeah.
Right. One just turned 13 on the 11th. My twin boys are turning 13 June 9th, but they're all totally different.
Yeah.
Like one has the drive, one's kind of like, I know I'm good, so I need to practice. I'm like, no, you still got to practice. Right. And one's kind of like, I know I'm not good, but I'm going to practice.
Yeah.
Right. 3 different boys. So trying to find how to motivate each of them without pushing too hard to make them not want to do it.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part.
Yeah. It's like, how far can you push it before they
just turn to a shell and be like, oh, well,
yeah,
I'm not gonna do it anymore. So
exactly. Yeah, you'd be intentional as a dad to like think through how much can you push, and like I think about business and work, but I honestly think about my kids and like how much, like I think of them like as a rubber band of like, I want to stretch them to stress an appropriate level of stress and fun and challenge them to try, but I don't want to break them. And then there are seasons where you just gotta let them relax and chill out.
Like I think I told you before, like me growing up, my stepdad, he was the kind of dad where I remember playing baseball.
Yeah.
He would tell me right before I go up, you better not strike out. Right. And you know, what's that
All
gonna do to you?
about.
All you think about, can't strike out. And naturally you're gonna strike out.
Exactly.
Right.
It's like me golfing. Yeah.
Yeah. Then like, so I stopped, I didn't like playing baseball anymore. It wasn't fun, which is funny because now if you look at kids nowadays, they stop playing sports because it's just not fun anymore. Right. So with me, like running a sports program, I was like, we're going to make it as fun as possible for kids. Right. You probably won't be that good. Right. And it's okay. But I want to make sure you're having fun, because as your confidence starts building, you have fun and you're liking it, you'll start being like, hey, let me try this. Let me try something different. And you'll get better naturally.
Yeah.
Right. So like, even when parents come through and they want to coach pre-K, I'm like, he's like, I don't know a lot about soccer. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's like herding cats, right? Just keep them inside the lines. Just make them have fun. And then your season will go great.
Yeah. Teach them 1 or 2 skills. And then as long as they're having fun, giving high fives and want to come back next season, that is a huge win.
Yes. The biggest win. And then
that's the transition from rec to club, though, is that you have to, there needs to be a little bit more structure, but there still need to have that discipline or that love for the game.
Yep. And so one thing I try to do with the rec program is like, all right, I want to kind of have it where it's a seamless transition from rec to club. Yeah. Right? We have that discipline, like, hey, you have to work at it. Right? I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to call to you, but I want you to realize that, hey, great things come after hard work. Right? But you just have to put the work in. Yeah. Even if you're pre-K, like my one goal with pre-K is like, I want them to get used to hearing a whistle. Right? If I can get them to stop when they hear a whistle, I succeeded, because, pre-K kids, they just want to run around and kick the ball and go get it. So, yeah.
For you, I've watched you as you have been leading this club. Like you're there day and night. You have how many coaches? Like 100 coaches?
Between rec and club? Yeah. Probably about there, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And you are, I mean, it's a time intensive thing. But you grind and you're so focused on it. Like, where did that come from? How did you learn that?
I would say military. I would say some of the military, and then just the fact that I want to give out a good product, right? Even at home when I do stuff for my family, I want to give them a good product, and I feel like I just, hey, here you go. Yeah. Right. So after every season, now I sit down and I'm like, how can I make it better for the kids? How can I make it better for the coaches? How can I make it better for the parents? Yeah. And I try to implement, it don't have to be a big thing, just something small. Yeah. Like this season for the coaches that been there for a while. Right. One of the things I'm doing, instead of having the community bucket for cones and pennies. Yeah. Right. I'm gonna make these coaches that's been there for like 2 or 3 seasons. I'm making their own cones and pennies. Hey. Like, hey, thank you so much for what you do. Like, I know that sometimes
next level.
Like, here you go, just so you know when you appreciate it.
When you're waiting for me to exit the parking lot and you say, give me my pennies back.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm always like, hey coaches, make sure you return the pennies and cones, because there's other coaches that want to use them. But I'm like, hey, you've been here for a while. You invested in the kids. I think 3 seasons is big. Yeah. Right. 3 seasons feels like a couple years. Yeah. So if I can just show them like appreciation, like, hey, here's cones and pennies, so you don't have to worry about walking all the way back over here to get some, or they're missing. Here's your own.
Oh, coach would love that. Yeah. So it's like the small things that are the big things. Yeah. So you think you learned a lot of the discipline? Like when one of my best friends from high school and college was in the military, and he was this wild child when we grew up together. We were arrested twice together. We
sound like me.
That was me. I probably should have went in the military. But he was the tamer of the two, but he got so disciplined from the military, and then now it's like he has structure and order for his life, and that's really helped. Is that kind of similar to kind of how it happened for you? Because I feel like that's how a lot of people in the military they learn that.
But I didn't really get all of that until probably my second enlistment. My first enlistment, I almost got kicked out.
Oh, okay.
I was kicked out of the Air Force. Like I remember.
For what? What'd you do?
I got to
I can't tell you.
Club fight. We had to fight in the club.
Really?
Right. And so got arrested, and then
you're off base. You got in a fight.
Got in a fight at a club. Well, I didn't get in a fight. One of my friends got in a fight, and so me being, hey, I need to protect my friends, beautiful friends. We got in a fight, got arrested, and then
I got in a fight in a club because one of this big guy started dancing by my now wife.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even like, I think he was just drunk dancing around, but I was like so self-conscious. And I was like, are you coming up with my woman? And I let him have
my woman.
Like I said,
but yeah, so
I'm the one leaving with her. I'm so self-conscious. I'm going to beat your ass.
So I did. So like we got in this fight and everything. It was like, I just got orders to Arizona.
Yeah, okay.
And I have gotten so much trouble where, like, issues with the gun with the base commander before that. So I was like, kind of like on probation. Like, if I get any more trouble, I'm going to lose rank.
Okay.
I remember went to jail, didn't say anything about it. And then about a month before I was leaving, my first sergeant found out about it. I was like, well, why didn't you tell anybody? I was like, well, I told the old first sergeant. And the commander already dealt with me like a bunch of times. So he was kind of like, I don't know if he was done dealing with me. He was like, hey, this guy has potential.
Yeah.
So he told the first sergeant, just let it go. He's got orders to another base. Let him go there and start brand new.
Okay.
Not let him do it, but let him start brand new and everything. So I did. And then I kind of took that. I was like, yo, this is my second chance. Okay. And one of the things they told me before you leave, they give you this, it's called a PIF. It's your information file, right?
Okay.
And so my first sergeant and my commander was like, hey, when you're driving to Arizona, right, we're going to give you your PIF, right? I'm not saying to do this, but what you could do, what happens a lot of times, paperwork gets lost in transition, right? He said, so if your papers get lost, it'd be best if all your paperwork that you got that was negative goes disappearing. So I made out of Abilene, Texas. My first stop to get gas, I was like sitting there getting gas, and I went through all of my paperwork and just tear this up, throw this away. So, so everything was gone.
I want my HR file.
Yeah,
now.
right. So
I should call HR and let them know.
Yeah, it was probably one of the best pieces of advice I had, because I know going to a new base, people saw my PIF and like, oh, we're dealing with this kind of person, and already in the head was like, he's a problem child.
Yeah.
Right. And so I did that, but then the rest of my career was great. Got to a point to where, not fully straight and narrow, but like to a point where like I can start my own groundwork.
I've noticed that like at my second time getting like in trouble with the law, it was like a thing where it was like an aha moment for me that I'm like, if I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to lose everything I have. And there's something so much more significant. So it's good. I mean, it's an awakening to help move forward here.
And it helped me a bunch, because then...
Were you married at the time?
Wasn't married, was dating. So at the time we had our oldest son, which is in the Air Force right now. But we had an oldest son, and we weren't married. So the Air Force don't look at you as a couple.
They don't look at you as a couple?
Not when you're not married.
So she couldn't travel with you. Wasn't she in the military?
Yep, she was. So she stayed in Abilene, Texas. I went to Air Force Base, Arizona.
Yeah.
Right? But we made a point to see each other every month. Like either I'm flying out there or driving out there, or she's flying out here. So we did that and everything. So it worked out for the best, because 2007 we wound up getting married.
Okay.
Right? And like, I think that kind of helped me settle down more, because now I have my wife and my kid here.
Right.
I can't go out all the time. Like I still went out. I was still trying to learn how to be a dad and husband. Still went out, but I started settling down more. So
Sarah and I got engaged in 2006. Yeah, 2006. And I remember it was her that like got me to settle down a ton. like she's like, hey, we need to like get involved in a church and do something like that. So we started going, went to a youth group or a college group, and we'd go in the small group and everyone's talking and I'm like, I know nothing. I'm just sitting there in the corner sweating. Afterwards, I'm sneaking a cigarette. The year of graduation, like she says, like she knew like I started smoking back like when I was like 15, and I really was trying to quit. And it was like one of the biggest things when we were getting married. Like she says, if you keep smoking, we're not going to get married. And I remember our graduation from college, it was like a month before we were getting married afterwards. Like I went out with the boys and or she was at one bar. We were at downtown and I look over and I see her staring at me from another bar. And I'm like, and I see her within seconds running down the street screaming at me. We're so overly dramatic. But she was like, I'm done with this. And it was like a beginning of like, all right. Yeah. I mean, it's a small thing, but it was like a thing like, hey, if I want to be married to this woman, I got to like step up my game and be a man here.
Yep. And that's so I used to smoke too. So I smoked too. Yeah. I started smoking my first deployment.
Okay.
Because in my head, I was like, I'm going to die. Like I'm going to war. I'm going to die. So I started smoking everything. And then my wife at the time couldn't stand it. She was like, why do you do that to yourself? Like you're so much stronger than that. Yeah. Why you smoke? So she always was like, she never made me feel guilty about smoking, but she was just let me know like, hey, you're so much better than this. Yeah. Right. So why do you do this to yourself? Yeah. And so for over a long period of time, like I was smoking.
Yeah. So your late wife you guys had 2 kids together, right? 3.
We had set twins and Yep, and my oldest.
Okay. Yep. Man, you are like the twin master.
Right? I had no idea how to do it.
2 sets of twins. He's like, he said before we went on the recording, his second set of twins was supposed to be quadruple. 4. Yep. And it just turned into
just twins.
Yep. Yeah. I'm like, holy moly, man. Yep.
And so we think that so my daughters they look alike like sisters, but they don't look like identical twins. Yeah. So we think the 2 that didn't make it were their actual twins. Oh my gosh. But that's why we was talking about the Sprinter van. I was like, I need that. Couldn't drive one of those.
Exactly. But so you're in the military. Then you get married. You're deployed, and then like you have this huge moment of your guys' life that was so impactful, like tragic. Honestly,
life changing. Yeah,
life changing is a better word. Yep. Yeah.
So I was in Afghanistan in 2017. Yeah. Right. I was in Afghanistan in 2017. And I remember me and my wife talk a bunch. Sure. Even if it's not about anything. We're still like, we're still in that dating phase where we could just on the phone, not saying anything. Like,
just breathing.
You sleep? Yeah. You sleep? No, you sleep. But we would talk to each other every night. And so there was one night where I'm calling her. I got off shift. I'm calling her. Kept calling her. She didn't answer. I was like, all right, what's going on? And now we're stationed in Italy at the time. So I was like, all right, we're in a foreign country and my wife's not answering. What's going on? And so about an hour or 2 later, she called me back. I was like, is everything okay? She was like, I'm in the hospital right now. I was like, well, why are you in the hospital? She's like, well, I have this lump in my chest. And so they're checking me out right now and they're saying my cancer came back. Right. And so we dealt with this cancer like probably since 2011 because she realized she had cancer after my twin boys were born. Okay. So people hear military and think that's all like just hard. Like, no, we're not gonna do this. But my commander, Colonel O'Connor, that next morning I went into shift, he was like, yo, can I talk to you for a second? I was like, yeah, sure. What's up? He's like, how you doing? And broke down crying because I didn't know what's going on. My wife was happening, everything. Within 24 hours, I was on a flight out of Afghanistan back to Italy. Within 2 weeks of that, we had orders from Italy back to Arizona. Okay. Right? Within 2 weeks of that, I was back in Italy packing up our house to relocate back to Arizona. So my commander, they took care of me. Like even to the point where I was talking to, we at the hospital, I'm talking to the hospital and they was like, hey, where do you want to go? Right? That's why we came back to Arizona. I was like, where do you want to go? They was like, we can make a job for you anywhere in the world to make sure your wife get the best treatment. Even if there's not a base there, we'll make you a job and you can stay there for like 2 years while your wife gets treatment till everything's figured out. Then you can go to the actual base. And I told him, I was like, send us back to Arizona because we have the best chance there. I was like, I'm from South Carolina. My wife's from San Antonio, Texas. Sure. I was like, but both our families work right? I was like, send us back to Arizona because our church there, CCV,
Yeah.
right? They helped us out so much last time.
Yeah.
Right now, we have a better chance of success if we're there around
community.
Especially not just community, but like people who like, it's gonna get to a point where it's gonna be nobody can give us a good answer, right? Docs or anything. And I'm pretty sure that's where God's gonna come in. Mm-hmm. So we'll go, me and wife sit down, talk about it, and then like going back to Arizona. So,
and you guys moved back 2017, and then what happened from there?
It's weird. It's weird how dates stick with me now, right?
Okay.
So if you asked me before, like, what's my wedding anniversary, my wife's birthday, I'm like, right. But now dates stick with me. So, September 2017, we closed on our house.
Okay.
Right. Wife's going through radiation, going through chemo, back and forth from the hospital. We had Thanksgiving dinner because me and my oldest son, we cooked Thanksgiving dinner together. He was like, we do it together. So we cooked Thanksgiving dinner. We had Thanksgiving. She went for her next chemo treatment on the 30th of November. And then they said, your oxygen level's too low. So you have to stay in overnight to get your oxygen levels back up.
Okay.
And then she didn't make it. Then that same day, it was like, we got to move her to hospice because there's nothing else we can do. So December 1st, moved to hospice, and then she died that day. Yeah. One of my biggest fears, because my dad died when I was 5, right? He was a cop up in New York. My dad died when I was 5. One of the hardest things I fear was like telling my kids that, hey, your mom just passed away, right? And then like, how I'm gonna do being a single dad? Your mom passed away. One of the hardest thing. And so I remember one point after she passed, my mom being there. And she was like, I remember I'm sitting there, I didn't know what to do. I had a beer in one hand, I had a bottle of Jameson in the other hand. I'm drinking the Jameson and I'm drinking the beer. And I'm like, I don't mind the pain because it ties into it. I feel like it ties into it. I loved it that much that the pain hurts that bad, but it's just times where I wanted a break from the pain.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting on the couch, my mom standing in the kitchen, and I have Jameson in one hand and beer in the other. And she just looking at me and like, kind of like, you ever looked at your kids with like, I don't know what to do?
Yeah.
Right. I remember her looking at those eyes like, I don't know what to do. Right. And so I think following that next day, I talked to my friend Mike. He actually ran the sports program in Surprise. And he was like, how you doing? I was like, yo, I'm drinking a lot. Right. I know, like, I'm drinking a lot. I don't know what to do. And so it's from there, he pulled me out. He was like, hey, just come volunteer. Just come volunteer at Stars. You don't have to coach. Just come help me out, paint the fields, move goals and stuff. So I did that. And it kind of helped pull me out of it. Right. And then slowly everything, you start seeing light in the end of the tunnel, but it was like it was dark for a while.
Dude, and imagine like the loss of like a spouse. That is the like almost the pinnacle of outside of a child of the most gruesome, painful experience.
Yep.
And then you had your kids at the time and have to tell them that mom's not there anymore. Like, how did you do that? How like?
So a lot of stuff I do now, I resort back to a similar situation, right? Even through the military, I learned how to be a better leader by seeing the ones that did it so bad. Sure. So I was like, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Right. One of the things I remember was, I'm not gonna down my mom or anything, but she probably just didn't know how to handle it. Like she was going through pain too after my dad died. One thing I remember was that she never talked to me about my dad after he passed, and I was like, okay, I know how bad that hurt growing up. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that with my kids. So I would make it a point, even now to this day, right? I still talk to them about their mom, right? We even had a picture up of us in Paris that was still up because I'm like, I don't want them to look back and be like, my dad never talked about my mom, right? I want to be like, my dad talked about my mom a lot, right? To the point where like we didn't want to talk about it, but he would bring it up. Like even on her birthday, we still make a cake. We sing her birthday, right? And then now, my oldest is 19. The twins are 12, about to be 13 in June. Yeah. Right. We still talk about her. Yeah. Right. Because I'm like, I want them to feel secure enough. Like, hey, my dad did the best he could. You know. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that. That's tough. When I think about like for a kid, especially, that's like a wound that's opened up, and if you don't talk about it, everyone knows the wound's there and it's getting infected, and then no one's dealing with it. Everyone's just looking at it. It's like, hey, this thing's getting all pussed up and getting all sorts of nasty. But like the best thing that you could have done in the midst of trauma and grief is to dig out the wound, normalize it, share, and let them feel it. And talk about it. That's been. And then now is it like a scar for them that they still remember?
Still remember, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anything's gonna replace like your mom passing away. Gosh, like even me, my dad passing, I still think like, what would my dad have done? Right? Because I have probably 3 good memories. Sure. Right down when I was 5, probably 3 good memories that I still remember.
Yeah.
Like what would my dad have done? I love that I could build who my dad was.
Yeah.
Right. You can't tell me otherwise. Like even that you'd be like, he was the worst person. Like, nah, because I remember him like this.
Yeah.
So I could build like how I am as a father off of how I imagine my dad would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a, what you call it real quick. You've been going to CCV for a while, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember when they did Into the Storm?
Yeah, it's like this.
I forgot his name.
You run into the storm, right?
Yes. And so like they're talking about, I think Buffalo, how Buffalo.
Yeah.
I think they don't.
I have a buffalo behind me. That's what it's from. I mean, not for that series, but that's the whole thing about buffalo.
Yeah, how they face a
storm.
And so I love that because I'm like, I'm gonna face every day like that. No matter how bad stuff is, I'm going into the storm. Yeah. Right? It's gonna suck no matter what. So why not I control the suck and be like, I'm going into it. Yeah. Instead of like, I'm gonna just wait for it to come to me. Yeah. Nope, I'm going into the storm. Exactly. So yeah.
Yeah, like the whole analogy is like there's cows and buffaloes. Cows are idiots and they'll just, when they see some storm coming, they will run like away from the storm, and then the storm catches up to them and then they just get pounded by the storm over and over again. But buffalo are the only animals that see something coming, something hard, and they charge into it. They're like, all right, it's easier just to punch it in the face.
Yes.
I'm gonna get through it. So like is that
what you told yourself that night at the club when the guy was dancing on your you see just punch him in the face, get through it.
How do you get through it? Sure, you weigh 70 more pounds than me, and I barely know how to punch, but here we go. It didn't end well.
Yeah.
For me.
Look at me, I'm scared. I'm how scared I am.
People ask me, why do you work out so much now? The club.
Let me tell you about
2005.
Yeah.
Yes. I will never let that happen again.
At least I'm looking intimidating.
Exactly. Don't sound intimidating. Yeah. Don't nothing intimidating. But you look it good.
But yeah.
So now so as you kind of think through this grieving process, how did you find a sense of, because there was this moment, I remember you told me this before, and it was such an impactful part of your journey, is like she was going through hospice or the ambulance was taking her and you were following behind the ambulance, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then like, what was that? And then because that was a big moment.
It was it's an impactful moment, kind of like a clarity moment where like, okay, I'm gonna take this road. Right. So I'm following behind my wife. We leaving the hospital, going to the hospital, and
you're going to hospice at this point,
going
right?
to hospice, yep.
Yep.
And so it's probably a good 20, 30 minute drive. And so about 5 o'clock, so we're in rush hour traffic. I'm trying to stay right behind the ambulance. And so we're riding and I'm weirdly calm, like just calm, listen to music. I'm like really calm. Like I know my wife's about to pass away, but I'm just calm. And I was like, why am I so calm? And at this point, I've been going to church, like praying, reading my Bible for years now.
Yeah.
So I'm really calm. And I was like, is this the peace of God that you talk about, right? And so for a moment, I took God out of it, where I was like, I have to do all this myself, right?
How am I going to tell my kids? What am I going to say?
All of it. And so the moment I took God, I can feel the pressure like on my shoulders, right? I can feel the tension in my shoulders, my neck getting tight. I can feel all that. And now I'm crying. I'm in the middle of Arizona traffic, right? And I'm crying. And so at that moment, I was like, I started praying again. Like, hey, God, I need your help doing this. I need your help getting through this. Please help me out. Help me get through this. Help me at least make it to the hospital right now. Then we'll figure out the rest later. And once I started praying everything, tears went away and I'm like, calm again. I feel really calm again.
Yeah.
Right. And I took that as like, hey, well, I remember the doctor at the time, he came into the hospital. He's like, there's nothing else we can do. He's like, try my best. And the doctor at the time, he also said too, his grandma died from angiosarcoma cancer. Right. He's like, nothing else we can do. We tried everything we can. Right. And that's where I realized like, there's going to be times where not even the best doctors can help you anymore.
Right.
right? There's gonna be times where like not even your friends, no matter what you're going through, your friends, there's nothing they can say to you, right? That can help you through situations, right? But then like, but that peace of God I have is gonna help me out.
Amen.
And so it did. It got me through just that thought. From that thought forward, it helped me through so many situations, right? I still had my times where I was down, I felt depressed, the whole drinking thing with my mom. But at the end, I could always look back and be like, well, God was with me. God had me through the whole time, right? Because
it's like, that whole thing where they're like when it's so painful, you're like, or they're walking in the sand and you only see one set of footsteps, and it was God who was carrying you. Yeah. It's like, that's the peace of God.
And he did.
Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like,
it doesn't,
I should be so upset and pissed, or I couldn't even walk or get out of bed. But there's something about this that I'm just like,
yeah. And I did. I went to those points where I was like, I didn't want to get out of bed. I'm depressed.
Yeah.
Right. But then I think about my kids, and I think about, I don't want them to think that this is how you handle situations, that you just lay down. Right. So even if it was me just crying, they saw me cry. They knew I was sad. Yeah. My twins at the time, they were 6 or 7 at the time, and they would ask, hey, Dad, you okay? I'm like, hey, I just miss Mom right now. Right. And then, right, no matter how much I helped them, they was helping me just as much. Like Jeremiah, one of the twins, he wake up in the middle of the night crying, or he would just cry randomly that he misses Mom. And it was so nice to see that sometimes when like I'm crying, I'm feeling down. Kind of love I was showing him when he was crying and everything. He was doing that with me. Like, you know, like
comfort you.
He'll comfort me and everything. Like, so, and so it was the best thing in the world. I'm like, all right, God, I think I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Right. I think I'm
doing the right thing right now. Like, this is a horrible thing that has happened. There's no changing this.
Yeah.
And I have to run into the storm.
Yep.
But praise God, like, I got this.
Yeah.
You with me.
Yep.
And God is in your kid right there.
Yes.
Comforting you.
Yep.
What the beauty of that is.
Yep. And a lot of times I doubted myself, like, am I doing the right thing? But then now,
like, what is right in this moment? You know what I mean? I'm stepping out and doing the right thing, like the best I can in this moment, trying to be faithful. Like,
is this right? Like, you never really know. As a parent, you never really know. But now I can look at my son who's 19. He joined the military.
Yeah.
And then when I went to go see him in California for Thanksgiving this year or last year, he had like a white rope on his uniform. Okay. I was like, what's that? He was like, that's because I've been going to church consistently and everything. So I'm a white rope. I was like, and so I'm looking at him like, you don't really know, but like, there's signs where like, guys, like, you're doing the right thing. Like, you're doing the right thing. Just keep it up.
Yeah. So. Sarah and I were talking even this morning that our oldest now is 25 and she's married, has a kid, and she has her own life and struggles, but watching her like figure out, like, she went to church with us and her husband showed up and came to church with us. And that's the first time ever. Yeah. And that's like the hugest win. And like, oh, this is my son-in-law.
Yeah.
Introduce him to some people, and my daughter just feeling like she's able to break down because she had a miscarriage, and it's been able to, my wife and I just pray for her and just help heal that. And you're like, and she's such a good mom and a good person. Like, you're like, those are the moments as like a parent, you're like, this is the real stuff. This is the good stuff.
But you never know.
Yeah. So if just a few minutes left, as you retire from the military, you then get into what I love about your story is that you're working through kind of this grief. Your mentor at the time gets you involved in sports.
Yep.
In the sports ministry. You end up going on staff, right? Yep. And living out your dream job, second career in the your military, retired. Yep. Now you're a sports pastor.
Yes.
All this, you're doing it, and someone pops up in your life a year later, right?
Yep. So I wasn't on staff yet, but Mike, his name's Mike at the time, had me volunteering with him and everything.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, let's get your kids in sports. He's I'm putting them on this team. It's a woman on this team, and it'd be probably good for your kids to have a mother figure.
Sure.
Right? Just because they lost their mom and stuff. So I was like, okay, we'll do it. Come to find out that I'm going to marry this lady. You know, I'm going to marry her. So
you see her from the sidelines. Yeah, you're like,
right? But it's the crazy thing about it is that it's breadcrumbs of when we crossed paths in the past. Back when I was married and everything.
Yeah.
Never met her, didn't know her name or anything. And then now she's coaching my kids. And now it's season's over and I'm asking out to go on a date. Right. And all I said to her was like, hey, I want to pray with you.
Yeah.
Right? I just want to pray with you. So she said no a couple times at first. Mostly because she was like, I don't think I'm strong enough to be.
It's a big burden to take.
Yes.
I don't know if burden is the right word, but
I would say
heavy
burden.
Responsibility, huh?
I would say burden because I brought a lot of, like, losing my wife and like kids. I brought a lot of baggage into like our marriage and stuff.
This woman's like, ooh, what a treat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she handled it with grace. Like she handled it with grace and like she's my, not, I'm going to say polar opposite, but where I'm weak at, she's strong and she carries me. Was kind of like emasculating because sometimes I'm like, I'm the man, I need to be able to. Yeah. But I'm like, I have no problem. Like, I need help with this. And submitting my will to her and to God. Like, I need help with this. Yeah. I'm glad you brought her in my life to help me with this. So, yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Like your passion of sports and coaching, and then you're the coach of your kids. You end up becoming your wife. Yeah. And like the stepmom to your kids. And now you're the mom to your kids. And now you got two more.
Another set of twins, like twin girls now. So yeah. I don't know. So
all play club sports and living the dream.
And that's the thing too. Like with my first wife, Marcella was her name. With my first wife, she was military, so we kind of had that commonality where like anytime I had an issue with anything in the military, she would be there to help me like understand it. Which is cool because now my current wife, Arminda, she's in stars. So she's that.
She knows sports.
So she knows sports and everything. So we're doing the same job, work for the same company, everything that, so I can talk to her about stuff and everything. And I love it I just love how God intertwines lives and things and everything that you would never thought to make the connection. Yeah. That the connections happen. You're like,
that's so good.
Yeah.
So like one of the last things I always ask every guest who comes on and says, like, you've lived a lot of life. Like you and I, you're 40?
I just turned 41 yesterday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're about the same age. You've lived a lot of life for 40, you know? You got all these kids. Like what does Branden want to be remembered for when you die?
Just for the love of God, the love of my kids, and love to be willing to help anybody and be there for anybody at any time. Yeah. Right? Because I feel like that's what God kind of made us for, not to do stuff alone or by ourselves, but to, like I'm here to help you. Like how you helped me with like trying to start the basketball league. Yeah. Right? God knows what we need. They know the people we need in our lives. Yeah. Even though it's not right this moment, like I probably see my current wife before, but God's like, hey, it's not your time.
That's right.
Right? But he knew, like, hey, I have a plan for you. Yeah. Right? And that's one of the biggest things, like God says, even in the Bible, like, I have a plan for you. Right? And so I want to be remembered for, like, helping ease those connections. Like, God made those connections, like, hey, God, I'm willing and obedient to your will. So what do you want me to do?
That's so good. And your story has been so impactful to so many people already, and your kids, and it's going to be so healing for those who are experiencing like loss and pain. And I'm excited. Like next time we come on, we're gonna talk about this basketball league because it's gonna be next level.
Oh yeah,
I'm super excited. So we're gonna make it happen. Yeah. So thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
So until next week, may you unleash your purpose to profit in business, faith, and life. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for the Unleash Your Purpose podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. We'll see you next week.